Today, we will take a deep dive into one of the newest and hottest hyped blockchain games. Its name, Pixels, and we will evaluate it based on different metrics and indicators, starting with the valuation. It just secured its first listing after being a launchpad on Binance. Must be nice to start on the by far biggest exchange. It's currently valued at about 2.2 billion based on fully diluted market cap. On first glance, this seems quite high for a new game with a graphic engine that was up to date more than 20 years ago. Let's compare it with, to my knowledge, one of the most established blockchain games, Axie Infinity. It's worth more based on fully diluted market cap already. I am not a gaming expert, but both seem highly overvalued. Let's compare Pixels with real games that people actually play. I just googled some names of stuff I heard at some point in my life. Games like League of Legends, Minecraft, or Fortnite have hundreds of millions of players, compared to at best about 400k users in Pixels. So these other games have 500 to 1000x the users of Pixels. Keep in mind that the numbers are probably highly inflated for Pixels still. It's possible that the same guy has more than one account. This often makes sense when an airdrop is going on and as small users often getting disproportionately large awards compared to a large user investing the same time and effort. That's why many run 10 small accounts instead of one big one. After putting things into perspective, the valuation of Pixels seems very high. It could be the case though that the game is great and wasn't discovered by the masses yet, and huge growth can be expected in the future. So let's look into the game in question in order to figure out if this is a pleasurable experience or if the game sucks. I watched some videos of people playing the game and also looked into the mechanics behind it. The primary mechanics of the game are farming, quests, cooking, and personalization of spaces currently. So we got a farming simulator. Doesn't sound like too much fun so far. Before we move on, please like and subscribe if this is helpful to help me grow the channel and to make sure you don't miss any future content of mine. Also, keep in mind that I am not a financial advisor and that you should always do your own research. And that you shouldn't trust a random dude on the internet who might be living in his parents' basement. The game revolves around gathering resources which are of different rarities. Gathering can be done through activities like planting, for example. The graphic is not from yesterday, but from the day before yesterday. And I think most of the players are just into it because of the airdrop and because it's play to earn. Meaning that they don't play it because it's fun, but because they expect rewards, which hopefully will compensate them for the loss of time in this at best average game. I think it's highly unlikely that someone is playing it purely for fun. It's about potential rewards and the airdrop. This game is also pay to win, meaning that you will only get the best experience and enjoy the best rewards if you spend money. An essential part of the game is land. Landowners basically make a killing, everyone else is fucked, and the land is extremely expensive. Not a good thing if you want to win over new players who don't have deep pockets. Pixels has a lot of barriers of entry for free to play users. The developers at first claim something else.
Pixel is used to buy items, upgrades, and cosmetic enhancements that are outside of the core gameplay loop of Pixels, and it's much harder to come by. Players will not need this token to progress in the game, but if they want to show off a bit more, then they will.
Later, they admit though,
This token saves me time. This token buys me social status in-game.
it's also getting worse. This is about the land, which is extraordinarily expensive and has to be a real barrier to entry. And it will be hard to keep people motivated long term without having land. The light paper first states,
You don't need to own a plot of land to access the game's features.
but later it becomes clearer and clearer that it would be a gigantic advantage. Quoting.
Free plots, also known as specs, which are the most basic type, allowing the player to engage in basic farming activities. Altogether, free plots do not offer much functionality and provide far less yield than other types. Rented plots allow the players more freedom, better yield, and space for decorative purposes, but their downside is in the player having to rent them out, thus forfeiting a large portion of their winnings by using this plot type. Owned plots give the player additional space, functionality, and the highest income/yield out of all plot types.
Unfortunately, land is very expensive, as mentioned multiple times already. At the time of recording, land costs at least 1.7 Ether. The most expensive farmland is even offered for 42 ETH. To summarize, the game is no fun, and if you don't want to be at a disadvantage, you have to invest massive amounts for land and pixel, the in-game currency, to enjoy the fastest progress and harvest the most and best resources. The token utility is fine, as pixel is used for various things from VIP passes to pets, guilds and others. It also buys you the other in-game currency, which will be coin. It used to be berry, but this will be removed. The transition seems random and makes not too much sense, as they first say that they want to focus on pixel and phase out berry, and later they write that they will introduce another token named coin. What the fuck? Why don't keep berry then? It does not make much sense to remove one token to introduce another. But let's not get caught up in details. Let's talk about the team behind the project. Unlike many other projects, the team is not anonymous. Honestly, I didn't look too deep into the guys behind it, as I already knew enough at this point. Even the perfect team can't turn shit into gold. Furthermore, the team doesn't look too impressive. I don't know the companies where they worked before, but I don't know much about gaming either, as already said like 10 times. So sorry if I'm doing someone an injustice. On a side note, I also don't get why someone is more qualified because he owns the world's largest bouncy ball collection. Of the few pieces of information, some were, as just mentioned, irrelevant or meant to be funny or both. Maybe I just don't have a sense of humor. Let's move on and discuss the token distribution. More than 50% of the tokens are going to the treasury or insiders, meaning early investors, advisors, or the team. Ecosystem rewards seem to be low, with only 34% of the total tokens, while alpha users get quite a lot, with 5% of all rewards. Giving money to the Binance launch pool is just a marketing stunt to make the token pump and to secure a high-level listing. Thanks for the free tokens, by the way. Actually, is the launchpad even going against their own statements from the past? Seems like there are regulatory concerns that the token might be deemed a security. That's why they want to make it harder to trade and sell it. If that's your goal, maybe you shouldn't get a listing on the crypto exchange with more than 50% market share. This is also way more worrying as it seems on first glance. It sounds as if they want to limit the possibility to withdraw assets from the game and monetize them. Measures like this might reduce pressure on the price short term, but long term, this is not setting a good precedent for the game and the ecosystem overall. On top of that, people will flee if this is actually the case, as this game is only played for the rewards anyways. The documentation on the website is terrible and shows very little care. You have to read the white paper to get all relevant infos. On the website itself, to give an example, is no token utility explained. They try to introduce a few somewhat interesting concepts, but this will not save an overall uninteresting game. I am talking about caves and dragons and guilds, on which I will not go into detail. Only so much. I consider it a smart move trying to establish guilds, as this adds a cooperative element and people must work together to achieve more. This is what can bind people to an ecosystem. I also expect the token to be very inflationary, as we start out with only about 15% of the supply unlocked, but within 5 years the rest will be released. Very atypical is that the speed of release will not be the fastest in the beginning, but the speed will increase after about 11 months. Pixels also wants to introduce a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. Information on that is slim and it seems to be structured in a bad way already, as 95% of pixels spent in-game should go to the treasury and only 5% should go back to the ecosystem rewards. In my opinion, these numbers are very purely chosen for obvious reasons. Early investors made an absolute killing buying 700 million tokens, or 14% of the supply, for $4.8 million. Meaning they paid only 0.69 cents for one token. Must be nice having a return of 72x based on today's price of about $0.50 per token. I also assume the project is not audited. A very important step to ensure that the code is safe and hackers cannot siphon funds. I cannot make a definite statement, as I couldn't find anything about audits on the white paper or on the website. On Discord, I received no answer to my question. Please let me know what you think about the project in the comments based on what you have heard so far. Before we come to the conclusion, I want to quote the Pixels light paper, as they communicate it better than I ever could as a non-native speaker. This is their text, which is possible made with the help of ChatGPT.
Our economic models rely on one fundamental assumption: our game needs to provide real value to our users through gameplay. People need to enjoy our game enough so that they would potentially even pay for things, upgrades, skins, or other premium features, just like they would in normal games. But the sadder reality is that the previous generation of blockchain games did not even provide the same level of experience as traditional games. The prior generation of blockchain games was not valued for the entertainment they were providing, but rather for the speculative elements of potential future earnings.
In my humble opinion, they did exactly the same. Pixels is way worse compared with traditional games. The entertainment value is close to non-existent. This is more about the speculative element and the play to earn. This has no bright future. It's also extremely overvalued at the moment, both when compared with other blockchain games and especially when compared to real games. The team is mediocre, the game is substandard. The only question I ask myself is if it's bad enough to short or if that's too risky. The thing with these projects is that fundamentals sometimes don't matter and hype is the deciding factor. It could be a cycle that goes like this. People are hyped playing this game. It's not fun, but they do it for the money and they earn handsomely. This drives in more users, driving the price even more, what again brings even more users, and so on. This already happened at least once in the past in the blockchain game NC Infinity. At one point in time, people in third world countries played the game instead of working for real, as this was more profitable and convenient. This obviously cannot last forever. Once the price go down, people will leave the game and the same circle starts only backwards. People leaving, lowering the price even further, getting more people to quit, reducing the price further, and so on. We are potentially in the bull market and the cycle upwards could happen. That's why I will not short yet, but I will closely monitor Pixels and might short later on. Follow me on Twitter and I will notify people once I make a stand. I would never consider buying the token, but shorting is also kind of risky. Pixels is bad, but is it bad enough? Is the question to ask here. This is it. Like, subscribe and share if this was helpful, and watch this video next if you want to learn more about another hype project that is actually a huge shitcoin and can be shorted.